This is a song that Srila Prabhupada really loved, and he talked about it, sang it every time it was Lord Nityananda's appearance day, and he also talked about it in many of his lectures, called Manashiksha, and we know it as Nitai Pada Kamalam. It's by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. I'm not a good singer, but what can I do? I can take some fast lessons, maybe. Okay. It's called Manashiksha. It's from Partan. And it's deep, very deep in the mood of glorification of Lord Nityananda. Can we move this thing a little bit up, like this way? Okay, I think that might do it. So that's good, I think that's good. Okay. Nitai Pada Kamala Koti Chandra Sushitala 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 Hey Chayaya Jagata Jura No Nitai Beni Bhai Radha Krishna Bhakti Nai No Nitai Beni Bhai Radha Krishna Bhakti Nai Vidya Kori Dharan Nitya Sambandhanai ja Vritta Janma Khela Thara Sambandhanai ja Vritta Janma Khela Thara Say Basu Bharadura Chara Taina bolilo mukhe Majilo samsara sukhe Taina bolilo mukhe Majilo samsara sukhe Vidya kule ki koribe tara Aham Kantamata Hoyan Nitai Pada Pasariya Aham Kantamata Hoyan Nitai Pada Pasariya Asatyere Satya Kori Mani Nitaya Karuna Habe Braje Radha Krishna Pabhe Nitaya Karuna Habe Braje Radha Krishna Pabhe Dharanitai charana dukyani Nitaya charana satya Dhahera sevaka nitya Nitai pada sarakura asahan Narotamodara duki Nitai mura koro suki Rakoranga charanera asahan Hakoranga charanera asahan Nitai pada kamalam Koti Chandra Sushitala Hey Chaya Jagaduda Para Jaya Nitai Jaya Nitai Jaya Nitai Jaya Nitai Jaya Nitai Jaya Nitai Nitai Jaya Nitai Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol Nitai Gaur Hari Bol Hari Bol Hari Bol Gaur Hari Bol Srila Prabhupada is one of his favorite songs he used to sing. There is a very long explanation, word by word, practically by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada that follows this bhajan. It's quite long, it's about 4 pages. And he breaks down the song explaining the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda are like cooling rays of moon. Koti Chandra. Chandra means moon. Koti means unlimited or millions of moons. And in the moonlight, one sometimes Prabhupada would say, you work hard, it's a hot summer day, and you're exhausted. And you sit at night under the cooling rays of the moon and you feel rejuvenated and energized again. But that's only one moon. But Lord Nityananda's lotus feet is like Koti Chandra, so many moons, millions of moons. So imagine the relief from the sufferings of the material energy, which are like blazing fires upon the living entity's existence. So one who takes shelter of the lotus feet of Lord Nityananda, it is like the cooling rays of millions of moons, and all of that fire of material existence disappears. The word juraya means relief. If one wants to get relief from this struggle of material energy, one has to take shelter of Nityananda. One cannot approach the absolute truth, Radha and Krishna, without getting the mercy of Sri Nityananda Ram. Who is Nityananda? Actually, It's mentioned in one beautiful song also by Srila Narottam Das Thakur. Brajendra Nandanaye, Sachi Sutu Holu Se, Balaram Hoilo Nitai. That same Krishna of Vrindavan has reappeared as Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And that same Balaram, who is his older brother, has come as Sri Nityananda Ram. And when they were there in Vrindavan, if they were demons, they were finished. Fast, didn't waste time. But Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya had to face also many obstacles with very devious types of persons. And we saw that play. They were there, dacoits. But Lord Nityananda, immediately, as soon as that person took shelter, if one follows in the footsteps of Lord Nityananda and says, "My dear Nitai, I am suffering in this material world, trying to somehow find some kind of satisfaction and happiness. But everywhere I turn, it's like a blazing fire just upon my head, and every time I look for relief, the fire only gets worse." But if one prays to Lord Nityananda, "My dear Nitai, only you can give me that shelter. Only you can give me that relief from the suffering of this material world. Only you can bring me to the lotus feet of my ultimate cherishable desire, Shri Sri Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan." Then Nitai is very merciful. He is considered the personification of mercy. Lord Chaitanya was merciful. He is also Karuna avatar, but even more merciful is Lord Nityananda, because he's taking the mercy and distributed it. We know the story of Jagai Madai. How many of you know that story, Jagai Madai? Two very, what we say, quite ruthless dacoits who were didn't have any kind of remorse about doing any kind of sinful activity. Their sinful activities were so deep, so strong, and so unlimited that the scene switches now to Yamaraj, and he's there, and he's talking to his servants, headed by Chandragupta. "What are the sins of Jagai and Madai?" And they say, "Oh, my dear Lord, we are trying to calculate, and we've just hired 30 new scribes, and they're 6 months behind calculating their sinful activities. They're on the verge of exhaustion. We cannot keep up with them. Their sins were so much." But somehow or other, as the story goes on, Lord Chaitanya told Lord Nityananda and Srila Haridas Thakur, you go from house to house, door to door, you tell them about the glories of chanting the holy names of the Lord. And Nitai would go, and he would knock on someone's door, and he would say, "Oh, my dear friend, please, I have come with the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. He's come to deliver all of us from this suffering and material. Please chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare." And they would say, "Oh, Nitai, what you're saying is very nice, but we don't have any time. We have so busy with our material affairs." And he wouldn't take the answer. He would simply put a straw in his teeth, and he would get on his knees and would beg them, "Please, if you do this, you will not regret it. You will feel the happiness of transcendental love." And then they would say, "Oh, Nitai, get up. Okay, we'll chat. Because he would even roll on the ground. This is how merciful Lord Nityananda. He's the Supreme Personality of God. He's Balaram himself, no different. And he's come in a very humble way to beg and to distribute the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. It says that he goes around, he sets up different marketplaces throughout the world, and he says, "I am a merchant, and I have a business, and I'm here to make a profit. And I have an item that I'm selling. It's a very, what we say, rare item. Therefore, you have to pay for it. It's not free. And according to how much rupees, dollars, pounds you have, you get that much in relationship to the item." And so he would sell. But the currency was actually not anything material. It was faith. So if you had five pounds worth of faith, you'd get 5 pounds worth of the mercy of the holy name. If you had 100 pounds of faith, you'd get that much. So according to the faith, he would distribute the mercy of the holy name, and people would benefit according to how much faith they had in the words of Lord Nityananda and in the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama. So one day, they thought he was along with his associate, Srila Haridas Thakur. They said, let's go. And they went to the townspeople and they said, who are the most unlikely people to take to spiritual life? Who are the most sinful? Oh, there are 2 very vicious persons. Actually, they're the sheriff of this area. And their name is Jagadananda and Madhavananda. But you can't approach them. They will cause you harm. They're always intoxicated with strong liquors, and they're always in a very angry mood. And then they said, where are they? And they said, over there. And they saw them from a distance. And they were sitting there, and they had their clay pots full of wine, and they were drinking and smashing it, and they were punching each other. Because anybody would get near them, they would punch them. They were so bad. Should I tell you the story of one of the sinful activities they did? This is really horrible. You're all decent people. I don't know if I even tell you this because you'll think, oh my God, this is the only thing you'll remember about this class. So I'll tell you anyway. So there was one blind man, and he had a very beautiful young daughter, and he would go from door to door, and his daughter would lead him, and they would knock on the door begging alms for the man, so she would be his, helper, associate. So they were watching Jagai and Madai, and then they would wait till the man got throughout the day and they got enough, and then they would attack the man, take the money, rape the girl, and leave. Yeah, that's how bad they were. It's ruthless. And so their sins were not even calculable by Yamaraj. He couldn't keep up. So Nityananda thought, perfect candidates for mercy. Perfect candidates for mercy. So they went, and from a distance they saw them, and Nitai cried up, hey, you 2 fellas out there, we have something for you. It's the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra. We've come to give it to you and give you great happiness. So they looked at each other and started to say, well, who's that? What is he talking about? Get him! So they both got up. They were stumbling and falling. One is fat, the other one's skinny, but they're drunk, so they can't really. And so Lord Nityananda and Lord and Srila Haridas Thakur, they start running, and they were chasing them. And Haridas Thakur says, and Nityananda was laughing. And Haridas Thakur said, I've been beaten in 22 marketplaces. And somehow I survived. But now with your association, I don't know what will happen. And then they laughed some more. And then he went back and gave their Sankirtan scores to Lord Chaitanya that night. And then Srila Haridas Thakur said to Lord Chaitanya, he likes to associate with drunkards. He's a madman. Lord Chaitanya says, yeah, drunkards associate with other drunkards. He's drunk on the holy name. So it's a type of intoxication that is very well recommended by everyone. And so the next day they went out again. And there they were, sitting in their place, just calling each other's names, biting each other, punching each other. If somebody ever come near them, they would chase them. And so now Nityananda, he became a little bit more closer. And he said again, please come, I have the mercy from the Supreme Lord himself. He's come to give you this mercy, which will make you happy and free from all of your anxiety and all of your sinful activities. Chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare. So then Maharaja looked again. There they are again. So he picked up a pot and was broken, and he threw it, and it hit Nityananda on the head, and his head started to bleed. Soon as that happened, all the townspeople ran, and they called Lord Chaitanya, and he came. Lord Chaitanya saw what was happening. He became like fire. Lord Nityananda has been injured by these drunkards. He took out his chakra. He called, "Chakra! Chakra!" It appeared on his hand, and he was about to throw it, but Jagai jumped at the feet of the Lord and said, "My dear Lord, please spare us. We are sorry. We didn't mean." Actually, it wasn't me. He did it. So, and then Lord Nityananda, Chaitanya calmed down a little bit. And then Dvaitacharya appeared on the scene and said, "Actually, my dear Lord, we've come not to kill the bodies, but to kill the mentalities. This is our mission in this particular incarnation." And so they freed them. But then Lord Chaitanya said, "I will forgive you only if Lord Nityananda forgives you." And of course, Lord Nityananda was never feeling any kind of enmity or envy or anger towards them, and he immediately forgave them. And then what happened was a miracle. All of the sins that they had committed came right into the body of Lord Chaitanya, and his beautiful golden body became black. And then Advaitacharya said, "Hey, you look like Krishna." And then Lord Chaitanya made a declaration. He said, "These sins of Jagai and Madai are here, and anyone who commits offenses against Vaishnavas, they will get the reactions of these sinful activities." Made a very strong declaration. Because Lord Chaitanya wanted to make that point. Anyone who commits offenses against Vaishnavas will get a very severe reaction. And then Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, in describing this particular pastime, he says that this activity of showing compassion to Jagai Madai by Lord Nityananda and Lord Chaitanya is not a historical event in the past. It's not simply a story from the scriptures. What is it? It's actually a feature of Lord Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda's mercy going on today. They're still saving the Jagais and Madais, and that's a fact. And many of us who have come to Krishna consciousness, we were not as bad as that, but we were close. Some of us anyway. So this mercy is going on still today. So that they're still touring everywhere through their associates and distributing their mercy and uplifting the conditioned souls. Lord Chaitanya, he took sannyas, and then after taking sannyas, he wound up in Jagannath Puri. And he stayed there. He was going to go to Vrindavan, but his mother, Sachimata, told him, no, if you go to Vrindavan, we will never see you again. If I don't see you again, how will I ever be able to carry on my life? So she said, actually, Navadvip and Jagannath Puri are 2 rooms in the same house, so make your residence in Jagannath Puri. Don't go to Vrindavan. It's too far. We'll never come. And so he agreed for the love of his mother, and he stayed there. And every year he would participate in the Ratha Yatra ceremony. And the devotees from Navadvip would feel separation from Lord Chaitanya. So every year they would make a caravan and they would go to the Ratha Yatra just to be with Lord Chaitanya and to be in the Ratha Yatra. But Lord Chaitanya told Lord Nityananda, you preach in Bengal or in Navadvip, and I'll be preaching here. Our mission is to save the conditioned souls. But Lord Nityananda's love before, Lord Chaitanya was so strong that one year he couldn't bear the separation. So he came along with all the devotees to see Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Navadvip. Of course, when they saw each other, their love just sparked to another level, and they were so happy, and they spent so much time together just showing affection towards each other and discussing their plans for preaching. And then Lord Chaitanya told Lord Nityananda, he said, I'm here in Jagannath Puri, but our mission is to save the fallen souls. You go back to Navadvip, and you take all of your Gopals, your associates, and you preach there. Of course, Lord Nityananda wasn't so inclined to leave, but how could he disobey the order of Lord Chaitanya? So he took all his Gopals, and they decided to go back to Navadvip. So they began kirtan, and they were chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting and dancing and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting and more dancing and some more chanting. And this went on, and they were just traveling. When they got so absorbed in kirtan, we're lost. Where are we going? I don't know. Which way to Navadvip? I don't know. Nobody knew. Let's ask. Okay, there's some villagers over there. Oh, which way to Navadvip? Hi, hi, hi! Go that way towards the Ganga. Follow the Ganga. It will lead you. Oh, okay, thank you. So they began kirtan again. They were chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and dancing and chanting and chanting and dancing and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and dancing and chanting and chanting and chanting and chanting and dancing and dancing and no stopping chanting and dancing. And then they realized, oh, we're lost. We're lost again. What do we do? Hi, hi. And then they asked another villager, oh, hi, 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 hi. 20 miles that way is the Ganga. Go that way. Okay. So they found the Ganga, and then they were traveling down the Ganga. Finally, they reached the outskirts of Navadvip, and they came to the house of Raghava Pandit. And Raghava Pandit came out with a beautiful garland of lotus flowers for Lord Nityananda. And Lord Nityananda was so happy. But then he said to Raghava Pandit, I like Kadamba flowers. Get me a garland of Kadamba flowers. And Raghava Pandit said, Nitai, this is not the season. There's no Kadamba flowers this time of year. Nitai said, just go in your backyard and see what you can find. So he went in his backyard, and on the lemon tree there were Kadamba flowers. Lord Nityananda's mercy. He was surprised. He picked the flower. Have you ever seen a Kadamba flower? No? Oh, if you haven't seen a Kadamba flower, your eyes have not seen the beauty of such beautiful beauty, because they're usually yellow or orange, and they're beautiful balls, and they're so fragrant. They look, I don't know how you could describe it. Little suns, or little tiny suns, are so beautiful. And so he made but then, after he made the garland, gave it to Lord Nityananda was very happy. Everybody started to smell Damanaka flowers. And Damanaka flowers only grow in the area of Jagannath Puri. And Lord Chaitanya would always be wearing Damanaka flower garlands. So everyone was thinking, oh, maybe Lord Chaitanya's here. And he was, but nobody could see him. Nobody could see him except Lord Nityananda and few of the more intimate disciples of Lord Chaitanya. They could actually feel, because it says, wherever Lord Nityananda is performing kirtan, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is personally present. They're inseparable. So then they began kirtan again. And they were, again, chanting and dancing and dancing and chanting. And it went on and on and on. It describes, by Vrindavan Das Thakur and Chaitanya Bhagavan, he described this kirtan went on for 3 months. 3 full months. Without stopping. Nobody stopped to eat. Nobody stopped to drink water. Kirtan was mad. It became so ecstatic. Can you imagine dancing with Lord Nityananda in kirtan? the whole spiritual world manifests by his presence. And the ecstasy was so much that the devotees in the kirtan were running up the side of the tree, and running out towards the end of the branches and dancing on the twigs. And the twigs were not breaking. And some of them were getting really, sometimes we do this in ISKCON too, but not like this, but almost. One of them got to the end of the branch and he said, "I am God of the monkey soldier!" Boom! And he jumped off the tree head first. And so they were all yelling and screaming and dancing. And then they started to uproot the trees, the small ones. And they would grab the tree and grab it and then pull it up and start dancing with the tree. And then the kirtan was so uproarious that it spread to the villages around. And some of the children from the villages started to come, and they were chanting and dancing with the devotees, and they danced for 1 month. And they were uprooting trees. This is nicely described in Chaitanya Bhagavat, Adi Kanda, chapter 2, section 2, chapter number 5. Yeah, it's a beautiful, beautiful pastime. And that leads to that pastime where we saw the play. And right after that, Lord Nityananda went into Navadvip, and that's when the dacoits sung. It's interesting. I was in the Bhaktivedanta Manor this morning. They did the same play. I thought maybe I missed it the first time. I have to get to see it again. It was good. Both times it was quite unique in their stylish. It was very good. I thought the essence of the mood of the play came out very nicely tonight here. And this morning, the dacoits were more fiercer. These were nice dacoits they had tonight. The other ones were just yelling and screaming and punching and running and around. It was quite wild. Anyway, it was a nice display of dacoitism. But anyway, so I was going to tell that pastime, but I think you got the idea already. But Lord Nityananda, I tell a little bit about his early life, because his early life is really the foundation for so many wonderful, wonderful stories. He was 12 years older than Lord Chaitanya. He appeared in 1474. Lord Chaitanya appeared in 1486. And Nitai was born in an area called Radhadesh, which is now, there's one village there called Ekachakra, and that is the actual birthplace of Lord Nityananda. And he appeared in a home of a very wonderful Brahmin called Hadai Pandit, along with his wonderful and very chaste wife Padmavati. And they had 2 sons. Actually, Lord Nityananda had an older brother called Bankim, and he was the younger brother. Bankim Roy left the world very early in life, so it is not much about him, but actually he was also an incarnation of the energy of Lord Nityananda. He also appeared. And Lord Nityananda, when he was growing up in that village, he would like to gather all of his friends. He was between the age of like 6 and 10. He would gather all his friends, and he would say, "Let's perform the pastimes of Krishna or Ram." So one time they all got together and wanted to do the Ram pastime, where it was Indrajit who had thrown that javelin and hit Lakshman on the chest, and Lakshman fell and he into a swoon and looked like he was going to lose his life. So Lord Nityananda played the role of Lakshman, because Lord Nityananda is non-different than Lakshman. In each of the incarnations of the Lord appears again with his brother. So in the incarnation of Ram, he's Lakshman. In the incarnation of Krishna, he's Balaram. And in the incarnation of Lord Chaitanya, he is Nityananda. So it's the same person appearing in all 3 manifestations. So when he was in Lakshman, he was a younger brother. That's whole nother story. But in this particular Leela, he is the older brother. So he would gather his friends. So when this pastime was happening, And when the one monkey soldier who was playing the role of Indrajit, or one of his friends, he threw a flower, and it hit Lord Nityananda in the chest, and he fell down unconscious. This is a play with kids. And he's not moving. And they're wondering what's happening. So they go to check, and there's no sign of life for Lord Nityananda. And everyone's getting worried. The kids are running to their parents and telling what happened. Hadai Pandit gets notified. He comes. And there's Nitai. He's unconscious. Everybody is besides themselves in anguish. Is he alive? There's no sign of life. Nobody knew what to do. Finally, one boy said, "Wow, where's Hanuman? Bring Hanuman with the herb." And then one boy, he got the mess. "Oh yeah, right. I'm the Hanuman in the play. Yeah." So he just jumped up, and he had this mountain of bunda, and he was holding the mountain. And they brought the herb and they gave it to little Nitai. Came back to life. He was waiting for that part of the pastime. He actually played the role so perfectly that everyone thought he had departed. So he would do that with his friends. And if you go, how many of you have been to Ekachakra? It's a remote village, and now we have a temple there. It's a beautiful temple. The deities of Shri Shri Radhamadava are there, and deities, of course, Gaur Nitai. And there's so many wonderful pastime places where Lord Nityananda performed his activities when he was growing up. But then something happened when Lord Nityananda was at the age of 12 years old. One very mysterious sadhu, nobody knows who he was, where he came from. He came into the village, and he came to the home of Hadai Pandit. And he asked if he could get some prasadam. So they did. They offered him some prasadam, and they offered him a place to stay, because it's custom that when the traveling sannyasis or the holy men come, the grihastas open their home and take care of them very nicely. So he stayed for about a couple of weeks. After a couple of weeks, what are you supposed to say to a sadhu when he's about to leave? Is there anything else we could do for you? And it's like you're supposed to say, well, and whatever the sadhu says, if you say that, you're in trouble. If he says something that you don't want, but that happens sometimes. When I go, they never ask me that because they know this Swami is not so good. So anyway, so he went, and they said, we are honored by your presence. Our home has become purified. Please, we want to offer you something. Ask anything. The sadhu was silent for a few minutes. He said, I am a sadhu, and I travel all the time. I do not have an assistant. I want your son to be my assistant. When Hadai Pandit heard that, he was shocked. He knew, as a Brahmin, when a Brahmin gives their word, it's considered to break your word is worse than death. So his heart was devastated, but at the same time he was thinking, how is it possible I could part with Nitai? And Nitai's there. He's very quiet. He's not saying anything. Hadai Pandit looks at his wife Padmavati. Padmavati, what should we do? Now, what is the heaviest thing in the world? We heard that this morning, right? The love of a mother for their child. That is the most weighty and most deepest thing in the world. A mother's love for their child. It's natural and it's deep and it's complete. And so, but she understood that now if we break our word, what will be our destination? So she said, she threw it back to him, whatever you decide. And he couldn't say anything. And then Nitai immediately got up and walked right next to the sannyasi and stood there, like, I'm ready to go. And so both of them left. They walked out the door, Nitai and the sannyasi, and Hadai Pandit followed in a mood of, oh no. He followed for a little way and then he stopped when he couldn't go any farther. And then it explained that he stayed in that spot where he stopped for 3 days. He didn't move, and after 3 days he disappeared from the world at a separation. That same Hadai Pandit actually was an incarnation of King Dasarat, who had lost Sri Ram, and because of the loss of Ram, we understand from the Ramayana he has also left the body in separation. And his wife, Padmavati, was actually Sumitra, the mother of Lakshman. So they appeared together in that. And for 20 years, that sannyasi took Lord Nityananda to very holy places. After 20 years, he came to the area of Navadvip, wanting to meet his younger brother, Lord Chaitanya. So he stayed at the house of Nandanacharya, and then of course Lord Chaitanya found him with all of the devotees, and they had a wonderful reunion that was so beautiful. And then they began their pastimes together in Navadvip, spreading the Harinam Sankirtan. Now these are some of the pastimes of Lord Nityananda. Please, if you have a chance, and make a chance, go to Ekachakra. It's a beautiful place. It's very somewhat serene. The people in the villages are like hundreds of years in the past. Very simple. They take care of cows, and they take care of their families like that. And there's a beautiful place where the actual birthplace of Lord Nityananda is there, along with there's a river there too. Now, when I went there the first time, this was like back in the 1980s. I think it was my first time I went to Ekachakra. There was nothing there. Now we have a temple. There was a river there, and devotees were showing me this river, and they said, this river is the Jamuna. I said, no. How is it possible? Jamuna is thousands and thousands. Jamuna runs near Vrindavan, and this is in Bengal. This is like thousands of miles away. They said, no, this is the Jamuna. And then they told a story. There was one sadhu. He also came, and he was there in the village. He stayed for some time. And then the villagers were also talking to him, and they told him, here is the Jamuna. He said, how is that? It is possible. This is not Jamuna. Jamuna is like thousands of miles away. And this particular river in Ekachakra, it's not a very fast-flowing river. It's more like a stream, but they call it the Jamuna. So this sadhu, he went and he decided to bathe. And he was elderly, so he had his walking stick with him. And when he was bathing, he lost his stick, and it went down into the river and floated downstream, and he lost his stick. So he finished his bath, he came up. Many, many months later, he wound up in Vrindavan, and he went to the Jamuna there, and he started to take his bath there, and lo and behold, he found his stick. The same stick that he had lost. And I think Krishna wanted to tell him, yeah, I told you, this is the Jamuna. So yeah, that's one place that when I went there, it was just such transcendental experience. I mean, I had a really powerful religious experience there. I felt like I was entering into the spiritual energy, and the whole scene, just the whole place started to vibrate, and I thought, where am I? Then it stopped. It didn't last for more than a few seconds. But that place is so special because it's the birthplace of Lord Nityananda. So if you get a chance, make plans to go. It takes a while to get there. If you're in Mayapur, it takes about 5 to 6 hours by vehicle to get there, and the roads are not so good. But once you get there, you'll forget about how difficult it was to get there. It was so nice. Now these are some of the pastimes of Sri Nityananda Ram. So Lord Nityananda performing his pastimes in that area. And there are many more. There's one particular pastime when he was in Navadvip. Where he was at the house of Srivas Thakur. And Srivas Thakur's wife's name was Malini. And Malini, she would do puja. And she would use the paraphernalia of her husband, Srivas, to do the puja. With all of the archi tray and all of the items. So one day she was doing, and Nityananda was personally present. And then she offered she was about to offer the water, the conch shell, but a crow flew in the window and grabbed the water pot in his beak and flew away. And she was thinking, oh my God, this is Srivas's favorite water pot. He will be so upset. And she was beside herself in anguish. And then Nityananda said, Mother, what is wrong? So she told him. He said, no problem. And he went, hey, crow, come back. And after a few moments, the crow flew in the window with the water pot, put it back, and left. So she said, actually, Nityananda, that's not very wonderful for you. But she was very happy. I was in Necrochakra. I was giving a tour to one family. I had taken this one family around. It was just me and the family. And we came to one spot, and I started to tell that story. And as soon as I was telling the story, one crow came by and sat right near me, and he wanted to listen. So, so it's quite mystical, that place. Yeah, he sat on the back of a cow which was right near us, and he was listening to my pastime. As soon as I finished the pastime with the crow, he left. So it's a very, very transcendental place, that place, Chakra. Now these are some of these stories about Lord Nityananda. If we pray to Lord Nityananda, it says that he is none different than Balaram. Bala means strength, and Rama means pleasure. But it's not physical strength. It's that strength that is needed in order to practice Krishna consciousness. So if we pray to Lord Nityananda, Balaram, they're non-different. As we mentioned earlier, Brajendra Nandanaye, Sachi Sutta Hoilo say Balaram Hoili Nitai. They're both the same. There's no difference. By praying to Lord Nityananda, my dear Nityananda, please give me your mercy. He's very kind. He will give you mercy. But simply, what does he say? Chant Hare Krishna. If you want my mercy, chant the holy names of the Lord, and you will receive as much mercy as you can handle. So he's eager to spread the glories of the holy name, because him and Lord Chaitanya came especially for that purpose, to uplift the fallen conditioned souls in this very miserable age of Kali, which is becoming more and more miserable. But still, the holy name is there. And if we chant the holy name, and we also pray for the mercy of Lord Nityananda, what is that prayer? My dear Lord, please inspire me to chant the holy names more and more. Please give me the taste of the holy name, which is very sweet. By praying to Lord Nityananda like that, and he's very kind, because he's manifested as the eternal spiritual master. If you go to Mayapur, you see the deities, Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadadhar, Srivas, and Adi Gaur on the altar. And those are beautiful deities that were installed in the year 2004 in Mayapur. And if you look at them, you'll see that there's 3 different color gold. Lord Chaitanya and Gadadhar are pure gold. Advaita and Srivas are whitish gold, gold with a whitish tint. But Lord Nityananda has his own color. He's gold with a reddish tint. And so you can see it. It's gold, but it has a reddish tint in it. And Srila Prabhupada, one time he was speaking about himself. He said, my color in the spiritual world is golden with a reddish tint. In other words, he has the same color as Lord Nityananda. Of course, Prabhupada didn't tell us who he was. When we used to ask Prabhupada, and we asked him a couple times. One time, our temple president in the Bhaktivedanta Manor, Vishaka mother, she asked Prabhupada, Prabhupada, who are you in the spiritual world? Prabhupada said, that you do not require. In other words, you don't need it. It's none of your business. So that was the end of that. Another time, another devotee asked the same question. Prabhupada said, if I told you, you would faint. He's an intimate associate of the Lord. I'll tell one story about Srila Prabhupada. This story I heard directly from a person who heard it directly from Srila Prabhupada. This was many years ago. We were in Mayapur in the room of Bhakti Charu Swami. He had a meeting with all of the Prabhupada disciples came, and it was about 100 of us. And everyone, not everyone, but many of them told stories about Prabhupada. And Bhavananda Prabhu told one story. He said, I was with Srila Prabhupada. And when you're with Srila Prabhupada, he's always talking about something Krishna conscious. Either planning how to preach, or talking about Krishna, or something about devotionals. He said this time he was really quiet. And he was massaging Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was unusually quiet. And he was thinking, this is not Prabhupada, he doesn't. Then all of a sudden, Prabhupada broke the silence. And he said, I was with Krishna in the spiritual world, and Krishna told me, come to the material world and preach. And I said to Krishna, Prabhupada saying, I said to Krishna, material world? Horrible place. Horrible place. And then Krishna said to me, no, you go, you write some books, and I'll protect you. So I came. But Prabhupada was sent. So he's actually an emissary of Lord Nityananda. Because in the same mood as Lord Nityananda, he's giving mercy by distributing the mercy of the Supreme Personality of God, everyone and anyone. So Prabhupada's very much connected with Sri Nityananda Ram. So we are very fortunate to be connected with Srila Prabhupada because his connection with the Supreme Personality of Godhead is direct. So if we follow very carefully Lord Srila Prabhupada's instructions for our execution of devotional service, we will very easily get the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And getting the mercy of Lord Nityananda means you get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya. And if you get the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, then the door to Vrindavan is wide open. Then Radharani invites you in. And that is the goal, ultimately, to get the mercy of Srimati Radharani, who is Bhakti Devi. She's Prem Guru. And Lord Nityananda, he's the general guru that brings you to Krishna consciousness. She's the guru that gives you prema, the love of God. So by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, through the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can approach the realm of Vrindavan. But there's no other way. There's not a second way to approach that realm. Only through the mercy of Gaur Nitai. But they're very kind. Jagai, what is that? Jagai Mare, no. I can't remember that song by Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami. Jagai Mare. Anyway, the mercy of Jagai and Mare is beyond anybody's understanding, how merciful they were to such fallen persons. So we are not as bad as that, I hope. I don't think so. We wouldn't be sitting here if we were. But they're very merciful. We pray for that mercy. Dina Hina Chatta Chila Harinama Udarila Tar Shakshi Jagai and Madai. Yeah. Very nice. So this is a very special day. Because to glorify the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the highest form of worship. And Lord Nityananda is very dear to Lord Chaitanya, and therefore by glorifying Lord Nityananda we become very, very dear to Lord Chaitanya. And on Lord Chaitanya's appearance day coming up soon, when we glorify Lord Chaitanya, we'll become very dear to Lord Nityananda. That is love. When you love someone, and that person becomes a favorite of someone else, then you also become a favorite of that person. That is the nature of love. So yeah, just like they say sometimes when you chant the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, when you're chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra and you're looking at Radha and Krishna, when you say Hare, you look at Krishna. When you say Krishna, you look at Radharani. And that way you chant the mantra that way, because each one loves the other one much more than they love themselves. So when you glorify the other one, you get the mercy of the both. That is the process of devotional service. So we are very fortunate. So soon we have to begin the arti. There's about 2 or 3 minutes left. Any comments, questions, anything about Lord Nityananda realizations? Yes?
Thank you so much for the lecture. How did Lord Nityananda end his pastimes?
Wow, that's a mystery. Let me see. How did Lord Nityananda end his pastimes? Balaram also ended in a very mysterious way. Balaram is none different than Ananta, and Ananta Sesh appeared and Balaram merged into the body of Ananta Sesh and disappeared. How did Lord Nityananda? Does anybody know? I don't think it's written anywhere. Because the disappearance activities of the Lord are not very pleasing to the devotees. So they don't write about it. They don't talk about it so much. It's a feature of ultimate sadness and unhappiness to talk about how the Lord disappears, because it breaks the hearts of the devotees. Just like when Lord Chaitanya disappeared, many of his followers left right after. There was no reason for them to leave except the fact that they were feeling the separation. So in the same with Lord Nityananda. That's a good question. There is an answer somewhere in the Shastras. I'd have to find it.
Swamiji, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. They say that a serious question deserves a serious answer. Do you agree with that?
In theory, yeah.
Okay. So, Jews, millions of them, say that Yahweh or Jehovah is God. Christians pronounce that Guru Christ is God. Hindus argue and claim that only Vishnu is God, or sometimes Narayan. Muslims say, no, Allah is God. So Krishna said, one of my favorites, which he is the greatest world-class teacher, world-class sage, world-class prophet.
I have an answer for you.
They say, if I may, it will take me less than 1 minute.
Okay.
They say, but we say that Krishna is God, but we don't like anybody else's dogmas or single dogma, the most important dogma that this personality is God or that personality is God.
Okay.
So
I got the question.
It becomes a stumbling block. No, this is very, very serious issue. It becomes a stumbling block.
I have an answer
for
though.
Millions, if not billions of people.
I can unstumble the block.
And yet Krishna, and I'm just about to finish, and yet Krishna says that if you can conquer me, it's not through some dogma, however valid. Krishna says you conquer me through love alone.
Okay.
If you want to conquer me, you can only That's not my words. It's the words of the Lord Krishna,
Okay.
of the Supreme Lord
Okay.
and King. You can only conquer me through love.
Okay, I agree. Thank you. But how many names do you have?
2.
Only 2. Sometimes somebody calls you, like maybe somebody close to you, they have a intimate name that's maybe just between you and them. So you have maybe 3. Sometimes we have 3 or 4 names, right? Sometimes people have 5. If you're a disciple of Jayapataka Maharaj, you have 6 names. So God there's only one God, but he has many names. Yeah. Even within the ordinary realm, we see people have many names. It's the same person. But God is unlimited, so he has unlimited names. But there's only one God. But he can be known in different ways by different names, that's all. But love is the elixir. Love is the way to approach God. Krishna says, Bhakta Mamma Vijananti, only by devotion can you conquer me. Thank you.
So now we will observe the Arti with Kirtan led by His Holiness Candramauli Maharaj. So if everyone could please stand for the Arti. Hare Krishna.